and important decisions by students or by political leaders that can move mountains are made using probability. And what I also like is that in itself, it may not be a lot, but when considered as a group, for example, you illustrate this with was Osama in the compound at Abbottabad.
Abbottabad.
And where Obama had to take a decision, and it was based on probabilities, but not one single. So he didn't go and say, "Okay, give me one number and I'll take a call." Tell us about it.
Oh, I think that's such a good story because it illustrates many important points. That it was suspected that Osama Bin Laden was in the compound in Abbottabad, and they deliberately had multiple independent teams look at the evidence, including, looks like, I'm not sure if it was called that at the time, a red team. And red teams are people who look for the problems. They're the miserable ones, the ones you don't want to have around most of the time, because they're always saying, "Oh, this could go wrong. I don't believe this." The skeptics are in there. And the red team sort of said, "I think there was only a 30% chance he's there," which is pretty low. But there were enthusiasts who thought, yeah, it's 80% chance he's there. So, there's been whole academic papers written about whether these different teams should have got together and then given the decision maker, who was President Obama, one number, and they didn't. And I think they were quite right. He got all these different answers. And he's done a lovely interview by this, which was on Channel 4, where he said, well, I was just left with, these weren't so much expressing probabilities as uncertainty. And I think that's really got a lot of insight, because it's showing that you can't trust these single probabilities, that what they're showing is that there's huge amounts of disagreement, there's different perspectives on this. And he said, in the end, I thought it's 50-50. And in the book, I say, I hope by that he wasn't saying, well, he's either there or he isn't, therefore it's 50-50, which would be really idiotic, I think. I hope he was saying, well, actually, they were arguments on both sides. On average, it was about 50-50. And he went for it. He took the call and he went in and he was right. But it was close. He obviously did think it was an extremely close call. So I thought this was a fantastic example of the appropriate use of Now, none of these probabilities were calculated. None of them were the basis of mathematical modelling. They were all judgments.
Right.
And I think that's completely fair. And those lessons have been learnt. And as I say, in the UK, this is a mug from the British Intelligence Services, which I got when I gave a talk at MI5. And it tells you officially that if you say something is likely, it means between 55 and 75% probability. So now the British Intelligence Services are encouraged to put their uncertainty into numbers. They can use words, but if they do use those words, they've got to obey this scale.